Welcome back to snippetcoder, and we are back with another video. In this video we will learn about how we can integrate our Stripe checkout payment with our Angular application and with the help of our NodeJS APIs. So this is our application. You can see here we have a different type of plans here, like we have a plan for $25, $50, $150, and upon clicking on any of buy now, it will land us to the Stripe checkout page. So now if I click on this buy now, so you can see here we are getting the screen for the checkout from the Stripe. You can also modify this screen with the help of that Stripe setting and all. Here it is showing the plans which we have defined in our Stripe, which we will discuss in this video. And here it is coming the price for that plan. Then we have this description coming, and here we will put any email ID test@gmail.com. Then we will put our card information here, 42424242. This is a test card we are putting here. Then here we have to put our information for the card name. Then here we have to put the billing address. Right now we are just using the USD as our payment mode. Then in that case we have to put the billing address out of India. We can put any of the country, and here we will put any test address. Now we click on the pay now. If the transaction is successful, it will land us to the success page. If it is not, it will land us to the same page, that is our payment page. So now if I click on the pay, so you can see here we are landing to our success page, and in the URL you will notice here our URL will change to the success here, and also we are getting this session ID. On the basis of this session ID, we can just get all the information from that payment which we have done there, and on the basis of that we can save any of the entry in our database according to that session ID and all. So now in the same way, if we click any cancel from there, so now if I click on the buy now, now if I click on this back button, you will see here we are just landing to the same payment page. So before starting a video, if you are new to our channel, subscribe our channel by click on the subscribe button and click the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. Thank you. So first of all, you have to go to our stripe.com, and there in the developer section you have to note down the two keys. One is a publishable key, this one. Then you have a secret key. To show this key, you have to click on this reveal test key. Then this key will be shown to you. After note down these keys, you have to go to the more option here. Inside that you have the product catalog, and then you have to create this product inside here. So you can also use the API for creating these products dynamically also, but in the case of the static prices and all, you can just create the product here, and then you can just note down your price IDs and all. For the testing purpose, we have just created one product here, and we name it as a consultancy plan 1, and we make the price here. So when we create the price here, you have this price ID here, and you have to note this price ID because this is the one we are going to use in our application. In the same way, you can also create the new one also, like if we go there in the product, and we will write here plan 2. This is optional here, and inside the price information you have to put the price here, and we will put here $100, and we will change it to USD. And the one time you have to make it a one time here. Recurring is like this payment will be recur every 1 month, 2 months, like this way. Here the billing period here, but for our example we are just using here one time price here. Then we will click on the save product here. Now you will see here we have created another products here. If I go to the list here, you will see we have two products here. First one is a plan 1 and second one is a plan 2. And here in the price you will see here this ID. You have to just note down this ID, and you have to put this ID in your application. So now we will start with the API for this, and we are going to write the API in our Node.js. So this is our Visual Studio code. So here we are first going to initialize our API project, and we will go to CD API, and here we will write npm I. So here we have to go to our CD API folder. Inside that we have to initialize our Node.js project. We will write here npm initialize. Here we have to give the package name. We are just using here API itself. Then we have version, then we have description, entry point, test command, get repository, keywords, author, license, and here we have to write here yes. all the information is correct. So now if I go there, you will see package.json file. And here in the Node.js, we are just going to use the three packages. First one is our Stripe. This will be used for the Stripe checkout session and all. So next one will be our Express server, which we are going to create in our project. Then we are going to use our course, and this will be used for our enable a course in our application so that it can interact with our Angular application, the local host and all. So now we have to go back to our Node.js. Here we will write here npm install, and we have to write the package name Stripe, and we will press here save. You can see here this dependency has been added. Next one we will add here Express. Next one will be our course. So all the three packages has been added here. So now we will go to our API folder. Inside that we have to create multiple folders. First one will be our config folder. Then we have our services folder. Then we have our controllers folder. Then we have our route folder. Also we have to create the one file here, index.js file. So now first of all we have to go to the config folder, and here we have to write here app.config.js. Inside that we have to create one variable here, constant stripe underscore config is equal to curly brackets, and here we have to write few variables. First one will be our secret key, the key which we have seen in our developer account of our Stripe, and there you have to click on the reveal key, and then you can copy that key and we have to put here. And publishable key you have to put in our front-end application, that is Angular application. Then we have to put the currency here, and we are using here USD. Then we have success URL, and this variable will be used when the payment is successful, and then user will be redirected to this page, whatever the page URL we will put here. Then we have our cancel URL. Here we will write http localhost 4200 because our Angular application by default port number is 42, and we are doing the testing in our local application, that's why we are putting here localhost, and then /success. Then we have our session underscore ID is equal to checkout underscore session ID. So this is the session ID. On the basis of this ID, you can just check the status of the payment, and on the basis of that status, you can just do whatever you want to do with the, like you have to show the success page, you have to create any entry in the database, like this way you can use this key. Then we have our cancel URL, and that will be used when user click on the back button and all. Here we will write localhost 4200/payment. So from here we will do the export here, module.exports is equal to curly brackets stripe config. So if we not put any module.exports, then in that case this variable will be not accessible and all. Next we have to go to our service folder. Inside that we have to create the one file here, that is stripe.services.js file. And here first of all we have to just import our variable, that is stripe config and all. We will put here constant stripe config is equal to required, and here we will put the path here, that is ./config/app-config. Then we have to create one variable for using the stripe package and all. We have to write here constant stripe is equal to required. We will write here stripe, that is a package name, and in the bracket we have to put here stripe config dot secret key. On the basis of this secret key, this package will be loaded here, then we can use it. And we have to create one function here, and that function will be used for creating the session in the Stripe, and on the basis of that session ID, it will show the checkout screen in our front-end application. So here we will write async function create session, then we have parameters callback, and here we have to create one variable name, that is session. That will be the output from this function, and we will write here await stripe dot checkout dot sessions dot create. This is the method name we have to use here. Brackets, then we have to put a curly brackets here. Inside that we have to put some variables, that is first one is a payment underscore method underscore types, and here we are putting a card because we are taking the payment from the card here. Then we have the line underscore items, and we are just using our static price ID and all that we will pass from our APIs. And here we will write price and we will pass with params dot price ID. Then we have the quantity here. We are putting by default 1 here. You can increase or decrease the quantity as per your requirement. Then we have the mode here, and we are using here payment as a mode. Then we have the success underscore URL, and that we will pick from our Stripe config dot success URL. Then we have our cancel URL underscore URL Stripe config dot cancel URL, and here in the callback we will just pass here ID. Then here we have to pass session dot ID, and from here we will just export this function module dot exports is equal to curly brackets. Then we have this create session here. So what we did here, we have created one function that is create session, and that will be used for creating the session in the Stripe. And there we have just created one variable that is session, and we are just calling here stripe dot checkout dot sessions dot create, and we are just calling as create method inside the Stripe APIs and all. And there we are just passing this model, and inside that model we have that payment method types. Then we have the line items, then we have the mode here, and then we have the success URL, and then we have the cancel URL here. And then whatever the output we are getting from there, we are just picking this ID of the session ID that will be used in our front-end application. So now what we have to do, we have to just go to our controller folder. So here we have to just create a new file, that is stripe.controller.js file. Here we have to import our services, that is stripe services is equal to require. Then we have our // services / stripe service. Then here we have to write export dot create payment session. That will be the method name we are creating here. Then here we have the request response next, and this will be exports here. And here we will call this stripe services dot create session, and there we have to pass the price ID, and that we will get from the request dot body dot price ID. And if you go to this service file, there you will see we have the parameters dot price ID. That's why we have created here, and instead of this also you can use this only, that will also work. Here we have the response from our service, that is the ID of session ID, and here we have to return here response dot status 200 dot send, and we have to pass this ID here results, and here we have to pass this response here stripe response. What we did here, we have just created the controller file, and there we have just created one function that is create payment session. Inside that we are just calling here stripe services dot create session, and there we have the price ID. Then we have the response we are getting here, and we are just passing the response to the user here. So now what we have to do, we have to go to our routes folder. There we have to create a new file, that is app.routes.js file, and there we have to create a variable constant stripe controller is equal to require // controller / stripe controller. Then we have to write a constant express, that we have to import our express server express, and express we are going to use for the routing and all. Then we have the constant router is equal to express dot router. Then here we have to create one endpoint here, that we are going to use a router dot post request, because this API we are going to create as a post request here, and we will name it as a /create -checkout session. And here we have to use stripe controller dot create payment session. And then we have to module dot exports is equal to this router. So what we did here, we have just created one routes file, and there we have just created one endpoint, that is create checkout session. That will be the URL for our user to create the session ID and all. Then we have to go to our index.js file, and there we have to write the code here. First of all, we have to import your Express server, require Express. Then we have to create variable for our app is equal to Express. Then we have to import our course also to avoid our cross origin issue and all in our Angular application. Here we write require, then we have our course here. Then we have to create the options here for the course and all. We have constant course option, and we will write here origin, and we are using a star so that this API can be called from anywhere. And then in the methods, we are going to use it for the post request only, because we are just creating the post request here. Then we have to write the allowed headers, where we have to use this one, and we are going to use it's in our access control allow origin, then in our origin also. And here we have to use this one app.use, and we have to use this course, and we have to pass the options here, course options. This will be used for enabling the course here, course enable. Then we have to create for our Express server, and here we have to write app.use express.json. Then we have the routing here, and we have to use app.use endpoint. We are using an API, and here we have to pass our file for the routing and all, require ./routes/app_routes. Then we have to start our server. For that we have to write here app.listen, and here we have start server, and here we have to pass our port ID. We are by default using 4000. Then we have the function, and inside the console we can write here console.log server started. So what we did here, we have created one index.js file. There we have created a variable for the Express server and for the course also. Then we have created the course options, and we are using it for the origin star for any origin. Then we have the method, for which method we are going to use for the post one, and the header we are going to use it for the access control origin and the origin. Then we have our course enable, and for that we are going to use here app.use, and here we are just using here. Then in the app.use we are just passing our express.json. Then we have the routing we are using here app.use, and endpoint will be start with the API, then our route files, and then we starting the server on the port number 4000. So now let's start the server and let's see. And here we are using NodeJS. So we have installed the global package as a NodeJS, and that will be used as a server reloading and all. And that is a very good, like if you save any file from here, it will automatically reload here like this way. So you don't need to stop and start a server again. So you can globally install this package in your system so that you can just run the application in this way. So server is started here. So now let's test the APIs and all. So here we have localhost 4000 API / create checkout session, this one. And here we are using the post record. So now let's, without adding in the body, let's click on the send here. So here we are getting the error from the Stripe here, because we have not passed any payment ID and all, and also we have not set the API keys and all. So now let's do that. So now in the body we will pass a price ID, and we will pass it. So now if I click on the send, so now let's see what will happen. So now you can see we are getting the ID here, and that is coming from the Stripe, and this is the ID from the Stripe for that checkout session ID and all. So on the basis of this one, we will just pass in our front-end application, that is Angular, and on the basis of that, the checkout screen will be shown from the Stripe itself. So let's move further and let's create the web application, the Angular, and let's integrate this API in our Angular application and all. So now first of all we have to create the Angular project here, and for that we have to write here cd web, and we have to go to the web folder. Inside that we will write here ng new and the name of the project stripe-checkout, and we will press enter here, and it will ask us, would you like to add a Angular routing, and we will write here yes. because we have to create 2 pages here with the routing, and then it is asking for the CSS, which one we have to use in our project, and we'll select a normal classic one. It will create the files here. You can see here that source folder is created here, and it's installing the dependencies and all. So you can see here that successfully created here that web project. So now let's go to the code part, and before doing that, and the package we are going to use in our web application is the stripe/stripe-js, and this will be used for integrating the checkout of the Stripe in our Angular application. And the integration very simple here. First of all, we have to install this one in our application. After that, we have to load the Stripe files with our publishable keys and all. And before that, we have to put this line of code in our index.html also. And first of all, we will add the package here. We'll open the console here, and we will put here cd and the project name here. And now we will copy this code and we'll paste here. So if I go to the package.json, you will see here this package has been added here. So now we have to go to our index.html, and here we have to copy this line and we have to paste here. So here we have to create one new folder, that is environment, and inside that we can create 2 files. First one will be the environment.ts, and the same way we can create for the production also. And the purpose of doing is like we have to put the keys and all in this file so that we can have a different keys for the local environment, and we have a different keys for our production environment without any change in the code and all. It will automatically work. So here we have to put the keys here, and we write here export constant environment is equal to curly brackets. Here we have to put here production false, because this one will be used for the local, and here we will be write here the one variable for the API URL. We will put here localhost 4000, and before that we will put here http:// and then we have the price ID. We have to put here the price ID which we have created in our Stripe, and we are just picking from here because we are using the demo account here for the testing purpose, and that price ID will be different from the production environment and all. So this is our ID. Then we will write here the Stripe key, and that will be the key of that publishable key and all that we will put here. And same way we can do here also, and here production will be true, and the URL, price, everything will be changed according to the production keys and all. Inside the app folder we will create new folder services, and there we will create new file, that is stripe.service.ts file, and here we have to create a new file, and we will put here export class Stripe service, and here we will write here injectable, and that will be used if we want to use this class without creating an instance of the class and all anywhere. Injectable provided in root. Then here we have to create one variable Stripe promise Stripe, and for this one we have to import our package. We will import here. Then here we have the constructor here. Inside the constructor we will just load our Stripe and all. Here we have to create one method that will be private load Stripe promise Stripe. This will be the return type of this method, and from here we will return window as any dot Stripe, and here we have to pass the keys environment dot Stripe key, and this function we will call from here. This dot Stripe promise is equal to this dot load Stripe. So what we did here, we have just created one function that is load Stripe, and that will be used for loading the Stripe libraries and all by passing our Stripe key here. That will be the publishable key. Then in the constructor we are just calling this load Stripe. It will load all its required libraries and all. Then we have to create one function with the async here, redirect to checkout, and here we will pass the data with any type. Data type will be any, and return type will be promise void. and here we will create the variable for Stripe is equal to await this dot Stripe promise. From here we will create the variable constant response. We will get all the response we are getting from our API, and we are using a fetch environment dot API URL, and we will pass the endpoint here, which will be API slash create checkout hyphen session. And here method we are using a post method. Then we have the headers here, and we are using a content type here, content type, and we are using a application hyphen JSON. Inside the body we have JSON dot signify, and we will pass the data with whatever the data we will pass from this function here. And this body we are using as a JSON signify because here we are getting in the model form, then that we have to convert it into our JSON signify in the string format and all. Then here we will write constant session, and whatever the response we are getting here, we will have response dot JSON. So in the response we are getting here ID, and that ID we have to pass here in this function. And here we will write constant result is equal to await Stripe dot redirect to checkout. Then here in the object format we will pass a session ID that we will get from our session dot ID. So this is the response we are getting from our API in this ID, and that ID we have to pass in this function so that it will redirect user to the checkout screen on the basis of this session ID. And also we can check here if any error, result dot error, then we can console write here whatever the error we are getting. So what we did here, we have created one function redirect to checkout, and here we are passing the data, and that data will be our price ID and all. So whatever the package user select on the basis of that price ID, we can pass here in this function. We are just calling this Stripe variable with our await this dot Stripe promise, and that will be our all the libraries in our variable. Then here we are just calling our API for with the post request, and we are passing the data as JSON signify. Then we are getting the session here with our response.json, and then in the result we are just calling our stripe.redirect to checkout with the session ID, whatever the session ID we are getting from our API. And then in the error also we are just console write the error so that we can know if there will be any error, we can know about it. So now let's move further, and we will create two pages. One is for the payments and the second one is for the success. So the simple way to create the pages is like we have to create one folder here. We will name it as a pages. We will copy this path and we will write here cd and path here. So here we are in the pages folder, and here we will write ng generate component, and we are using here the short abbreviation for that generate G, and for the component we are using here C. Then we have to pass the page name whatever we have to create here. Here we are writing here payment hyphen page. We'll press here enter. You will see here it's created one folder with the payment pages. So now in the same way we'll do for success page also, and we will write here success hyphen page. So now you can see two folder will be there, payment page and success page here. So the UI part I am not covering in this page. You can use your own UI as per your requirement. I will just copy paste the code here. So here is our UI, and here we have this click event, and there we have one function that is redirect to checkout. That code we will do in this .ts file, and before that we have to also copy paste our CSS also, and we will paste here like this way. So now what we have to do, we have to copy this function name and we have to go inside this, and here we will create a constructor here, and there we will pass private Stripe service And here we will create the function with the async here, redirect to checkout. From here we will just pass the model here, where model is equal to curly brackets price ID, and we will get it from our environment dot price ID. And here we have to write await this dot stripe service dot redirect to checkout, and here we have to pass this model. So now our function is ready. So now also we have to copy paste our look and feel for the success page also. This is our success page and this is our CSS file. So now what we have to do, we have to go to our app.routing.modules, and here we have to write the modules for which we have to do the routing and all. And first one will be path, empty path. So whenever the page is loaded, this will open this page, match full, redirect to payment page. In the same way, we have to copy this one, and here we have to write the path here, payment, and a component here we have to map it with our payment page component. Same way we have to copy this one for the success. We have to put our success, and here we have to map with our success page component. So what we did here, we have just write the routes here. First one is the payment, then we have the success one, and the same one if you notice in our API, here in our API code in the config, you will see here we have these two pages. First one with the success URL, then second one will be the cancel URL that we have added here. So now let's run the application and see is it working or not. We will put here ng serve, we'll press here enter. So you will see here this application is working here. So now let's open the browser. Here we will write the localhost 4200, we will press here enter. So now you can see right now what is happening. We are just landing to the main page of the application, that is app.component. So now we have to remove the code from there. Here we have to go to the app.components, and from here we have to remove all the code, and we have to press save here. Now if I go there, and here if I put here payment, so some error is coming here. So now let's see. So we are getting here window.stripe is not a function. So now let's see what the issue is. So here the issue seem to be like here we put S in the small letters, and now we will change it to stripe S in the caps. So now let's see. So here the application is working here. So now we have the three packages here. So we have assigned all the redirect to the same code with the same price ID and all. So now if I click on the buy now on any of the product, so here we are getting some error. Let's see in the console. So here we are getting the cross origin error for the course and all, and for doing that we have to just add one file here, and here we will get the new file. Name of the file will be proxy.config.json. Here we have to write this code. Here we have the API, then we have the target score. If we are using HTTPS, we will put here true. Then we have the log levels, then we have the change origin, then we have the path rewrite, then we have this URL. So now what we have to do, we have to go to our package.json file, and here in the start one we have to modify this command. We will write here, we will replace it with this one, ng serve -- proxy config, and we have to pass this file here, and we have to just stop this application and restart the application with the npm start. We will put here npm start. So now application is running with the proxy. So now let's see in the browser, is it working or not. So here if I reload the application, and now if I click on the buy now, we are again getting same error. So now let's see in our API. So issue is in our API. So here we have to add one more allow header, that will be a content type, because in our application we are just passing this content type. If you go to the Stripe service, you will see here we are just passing the content tab as a application JSON. So because of that, it is not working. So we have added this one in our allowed headers. So now if I go there, and now if I click on the buy now again, you can see it is working now. So here, what we have to do, first of all, we will test the cancel one. We will click on this back button. You will see we are landing to the same payment page. So in the same way, we click on the buy now again. So now if I put any email ID here, I will put the card information here. Here I will put any address here. Now if I click on the pay, you can see processing. Here we are getting the success here. You can see we landed to the success page, and here you will notice URL has been changed to the success, and here we are getting the session ID also, this one. So on the basis of this session ID, we can just do anything we want to do. We can also get the payment status. Also, we can, on the basis of that payment status, we can get the entry in our database for the order creation successfully or not. In that way we can do. So that's all for our Stripe integration in our Angular and the Node.js. So I hope you like the video. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe channel, like, comment, share. I will come back soon with another awesome video. Thank you for watching a video.